Chapter 1. The Spill. The diner smells like burnt coffee and broken dreams. I know because those are my two constants: the bitter coffee I've been serving since 5 a.m., and the dream I'm abandoning by working this shift instead of auditioning for the theater company downtown. Again. Third time this month I've called in to reschedule. At this rate, they'll stop asking. My feet ache in these white sneakers, and there's a stain on my apron that might be ketchup or might be my slowly dying ambition. I prefer not to investigate too closely. Refill, sweetheart, rasps Harold from booth 3. He's been coming here for 7 years. Same order. Ham and eggs, wheat toast. Black coffee. Same sad smile that says he's been alone longer than he's been married to whoever was in that photograph he used to carry. I grab the pot and smile the smile I've perfected over 3 years working here. Warm but distant. Kind but impenetrable. The smile that says, I see you, but I'm not really here. The diner is nearly empty at this hour, 2 p.m. on a Wednesday, that dead zone between lunch and dinner. Just Harold, a college student buried in her laptop, and the man in the corner booth. I haven't paid him much attention until now, but something makes me glance his way. Maybe it's the cut of his suit, charcoal, expensive, screaming power in a place that serves its coffee in shipped mugs. Maybe it's the way he sits so still, dark eyes fixed on his phone, completely absorbed yet somehow hyper-aware, like a predator at rest. Or maybe it's simply that men like him don't usually end up in places like this. He's surrounded by. Wait. That's the only word for it. Not from his body. He's lean, built like someone who has seen violence and won't see it again because he's learned to move through the world like a ghost. The weight comes from him, from the way the air around his booth feels different, thicker, dangerous. You staring, Angel? My coworker Marcus calls from behind the counter, grinning. That's a 6'2" don't touch sign if I've ever seen one. Man's been nursing that espresso for 30 minutes without ordering food. I've never seen his eyes leave that phone. I force myself to look away, heat creeping up my neck. I was just getting ideas you don't need, Marcus finishes, and he's not wrong. Whatever that man is, whoever he is, he's not the answer to anything in my life, except maybe trouble. I return to Harold with the coffee pot, and he launches into his usual story about his daughter's wedding that I've heard 17 times. I nod at all the right moments, my brain on autopilot, my feet already moving toward the kitchen to grab the next order, a BLT and a burger that just came up. The thing about working in a diner is that you exist in a rhythm. Step, pour, wipe, smile, step. You move through space without really inhabiting it. Your body knows where to go before your mind catches up. It's meditative in the worst way, soothing and soul-crushing simultaneously. So when I approach that corner booth with the BLT balanced on one arm and the burger on my palm, I'm not entirely present. I'm thinking about the audition I'm missing. About my agent, if I can even call her that, after she sent that email saying I need to make some real-world choices about my career. About the fact that it's been 4 years since I graduated from Juilliard and I'm still waiting tables. And maybe everyone was right when they said I wasn't talented enough, just stubborn enough to waste my family's money. These are the thoughts occupying my mind when my foot catches on the uneven tile near the corner booth. I realize what's happening in slow motion. The world tilts, gravity isn't kind, and the bowl of hot minestrone soup I never saw myself carrying is suddenly airborne. It lands cold splash of red liquid and soggy pasta directly onto the lap of the man in the charcoal suit. Time stops. Actually, stops. I watch his face, sculptured, severe, with eyes the color of something ancient and cold, register what just happened. His expression doesn't change. That's somehow worse than if he'd reacted with anger. His features remain perfectly, chillingly composed, even as expensive Italian leather is now wearing Italian vegetable soup. Oh God, I'm so sorry, I didn't. The words tumble out as I reach for napkins, my hands shaking. This is disaster. This is the kind of thing that gets people fired. This is the kind of thing that makes me a punchline in whatever world he inhabits. I can pay for the cleaning, or the shoes. I can replace them. He slowly raises his eyes from his ruined suit to my face. And I stop breathing. It's not just that he's beautiful, though he is all sharp angles and dark intensity, like someone carved him from obsidian. It's the way he looks at me. Like he's seeing something beneath my skin, reading the terror and desperation and failed dreams written in invisible ink across my soul. Like he's used to people breaking, actually breaking, not just spilling soup, and he's trying to determine if that's what I'm about to do. What's your name? His voice is low, controlled. Each word sounds like a decision made in war. See, Corin, I stammer. I'm Corin, and I really am so sorry. The tile is broken. I catch my foot on it all the time, and he stands up in one fluid motion, and suddenly I'm not just looking at danger, I'm drowning in it. He's taller than the booth suggested. The suit is destroyed, soup dripping from his thigh, and he somehow looks more lethal than before, like the mess only adds to the warning. Who owns this place? He asks, not to me, through me, like I'm air made temporarily solid. I'm Marcus. I point toward the counter, where Marcus has gone pale, actually pale, like he recognizes something in this man that I don't. The stranger walks toward the counter without breaking eye contact with me. Not threatening, just inevitable, like a storm moving across the sky. Marcus scrambles toward the back, disappearing into the kitchen. When the man turns back to me, something fundamental has shifted. His gaze is heavier now. Interested. Like I've accidentally triggered something in him, and he's decided what happens next. You. He points one elegant finger, and I realize his hands are dangerous, too strong. Scarred knuckles, the hands of someone who solves problems with force. Come here. Every survival instinct I have screams at me not to move. The same instinct that made my shoulders shake when I was young and my father raised his voice. The instinct that says, this man is not safe. But I walk toward him anyway, because refusing feels impossible, and because buried beneath the terror is something else, something that recognizes him as dangerous and wants to know exactly how dangerous he can be. He studies me for a long moment, his expression unreadable. And then his mouth curves into the smallest smile. You're working for me now, he says, and the words feel less like an invitation and more like a sentence being handed down from on high. Tomorrow, 8 a.m., bring an address so I can send someone to pick you up. I what? I don't even know who you. No, he agrees, turning away. But you will. And as he walks out of that diner, leaving a trail of soup droplets behind him, I realize something with absolute, bone-deep certainty. My ordinary life just ended. And I have no idea if the world I'm walking into will destroy me or complete me. But I'm going to find out. Chapter 2, The Pickup. I don't sleep. Not because I'm restless, though I am, pacing my studio apartment like a caged animal until 3 a.m. Not because I'm terrified, though I am, my stomach a knot of ice and adrenaline since yesterday's encounter. I don't sleep because every time I close my eyes, I see his face. That perfect, ruthless face. Those eyes that seem to catalog my soul like inventory. You're working for me now. The words loop endlessly. I've replayed the moment 1,000 times, searching for what I missed, some warning sign. Some indication that I should have run instead of walked toward him, some proof that I'm not completely insane for agreeing to this. I don't even know his name. At 7:47 a.m., I stand outside my building in jeans and a black sweater, my address already given to someone. I'm not sure who. There was no name, no phone number, just the absolute certainty that he would know where to find me. That he would send someone, that refusing wasn't actually an option, it was just a performance I could engage in for my own psychological comfort. The car arrives at exactly 8 a.m. It's black. Obsidian black. Like his eyes, a sleek Mercedes with tinted windows and a driver who steps out with the kind of professional efficiency that speaks of military training. He's large, scarred across one temple, and when he looks at me, his gaze is completely impersonal, like I'm luggage to be transported. Miss Corin? His voice is gravel and cigarettes. I nod, unable to find my voice, and he opens the back door with a gesture that says, no conversation needed. The interior smells like leather and expensive cologne, the kind of car where criminals probably conduct business. The kind of car where people disappear. I slide onto the back seat, my heart hammering against my ribs, and the driver says nothing as we pull into traffic. We don't head downtown. We don't head anywhere near the diner or any part of the city I recognize. We drive north, toward the industrial district, toward warehouses and empty streets. My hands shake in my lap. This is it. This is the moment where the movie cuts to black, and you read about it in the news. Local waitress disappears. Police suspect foul play. But then the landscape changes. The warehouses give way to trees. Old oaks line the street, their branches interlocking overhead like a cathedral ceiling. And then, suddenly, we're turning through wrought iron gates, and the house emerges from behind manicured hedges like a dark dream made manifest. It's a mansion, not the kind you see in magazines, all glass and modern angles. This is old money. Old power. Gothic revival architecture, with turrets and stone details worn smooth by centuries. The driveway loops in front, and roses red as blood climb the front walls in violent tangles. The driver pulls around back, toward what appears to be a servant's entrance. But before I can process any of this, the door beside me opens, and he's there. The man from the diner. He's wearing a charcoal suit again, perfectly pressed, no trace of minestrone soup. His dark hair is slightly damp, like he's just showered. His expression is composed, but something shifts in his eyes when he sees me, a flash of something that looks almost like relief, quickly masked. "You came," he says, and it's not a question, it's an observation, a confirmation that I'm predictable. And somehow that bothers me, more than if he'd threatened me. "I don't know why I'm here," I say, stepping out of the car on shaking legs. "I don't know your name, I don't know what this is. My name is Dominic Russo." He says it like a confession, like the name itself carries weight that I need to understand. "And you're here because I've decided you're going to work for me." Russo. Russo. The name hits me like a physical blow. Not because I recognize it exactly, but because something in my body recognizes it. The way my family would whisper it at dinner. The way my father's face would darken when he heard it on the news. Russo. Crime family. Drug trafficking. Murder. No. I take a step backward, and my back hits the car. No, absolutely not. I'm not whatever this is. I'm not doing it. I'm leaving. He doesn't move. Doesn't try to block me. Just stands there, completely relaxed, like he's seen this exact moment play out 100 times before and knows exactly how it ends. "You're not leaving," he says quietly, "not because I won't let you. Because you want to know why. And God help me, he's right. Why?" The word comes out broken. "Why me? There are 1,000 waitresses in this city. Why would you? Because you dropped soup on my shoes and then looked at me like you wanted to run, but didn't." He steps closer, and I can smell that cologne again, something dark and expensive, something that probably costs more than I make in a month. "Because when I told you to come here, you came, even though you were terrified. Even though every instinct told you to run. That doesn't explain. I needed someone who isn't afraid of making mistakes. Someone who won't crumble when things become difficult." His eyes move across my face like he's reading text written in invisible ink. Someone who runs toward danger instead of away from it, even if they don't understand why. "I don't work for criminals," I whisper, but the words feel hollow. "Because I am standing here. I did come. And there's a part of me, a dark, inexplicable part that's thrilled by the danger radiating from him." "You will," he says, and there's something almost gentle in his tone. "Come inside. I'll explain what I need. And you'll decide if you want the job." He extends his hand, and I stare at it like it's a loaded gun, because that's what this is, a choice, except both options lead to the same place. I can refuse and walk away, and something tells me he'll let me. But I won't. I'll go inside, I'll listen. And I'll take whatever job he offers, because the alternative is returning to my ordinary life, and I've realized in the last 12 hours that I would rather die than do that. So, I take his hand. His palm is warm, his grip firm but not crushing. And the moment our skin touches, something electric ignites between us, a current that's part terror, part desire, part absolute certainty that this man is going to change the trajectory of my entire life. He leads me toward the mansion, and as we climb the stone steps, I catch my reflection in the glass doors. A girl in a black sweater, holding hands with a man who smells like danger and cologne. Walking into a Gothic mansion like she's signing a contract written in her own blood. Behind us, the driver starts the car and pulls away. And as the heavy oak doors close behind me with a sound like a tomb ceiling, I think. I'm either about to get the most important job of my life, or I'm about to disappear, and nobody will ever find the body. The scary part? I'm not sure which option terrifies me more. Chapter 3, The Study. The mansion unfolds around me like a dark secret. Marble floors. Oil paintings of stern-faced men who probably did terrible things in service of family. High ceilings that swallow sound. Everything smells like old money and leather and the kind of power that doesn't need to announce itself. Dominic leads me through corridors, lit by wall sconces. Past rooms I can only glimpse a formal dining room with a table that seats 20. A library with floor-to-ceiling books. A living room where two men in expensive suits look up as we pass, their eyes cataloging me with sudden, sharp interest. He doesn't acknowledge them. Doesn't introduce me. Just guides me deeper into the house, his hands still warm against the small of my back, and I wonder if those men recognize that touch. If they understand what it means that he's claiming physical proximity to me. We arrive at a study. Heavy mahogany desk. A fireplace where a fire crackles despite the mild weather. Floor-to-ceiling windows that overlook manicured gardens and iron fences. The room feels like a throne room disguised as an office. The air here is different, filtered through power and decision-making. Sit, he says, gesturing to a chair across from his desk. I sit because my legs feel unreliable, and my brain feels like it's been packed in cotton. This doesn't feel real. Dominic Rousseau. The Dominic Rousseau is standing behind his desk like a Renaissance painting of ambition made flesh. And I'm just a girl in a black sweater with soup-stained shoes somewhere in my apartment. He studies me for a long moment without speaking. Just observes, the way he did in the diner. The way that makes me feel like he's reading every lie I've ever told, every dream I've abandoned, every moment I've chosen safety over living. Do you know who I am? He finally asks. A criminal, I say, because lying seems pointless with him. A dangerous one. The kind of man whose name makes my father change the channel on the news. Something flickers across his face, not offense, but something like acknowledgement. Like he respects that I'm not pretending ignorance. Your father. He moves around the desk, perching on its edge, suddenly closer. Suddenly more dangerous because he's no longer separated from me by furniture. Tell me about him. Why would I? Because I asked you to. The words are soft, but they land heavy. This is what it means to work for him, I realize. Not questions. Directives disguised as requests. A world where his curiosity becomes your obligation. He's a federal prosecutor, I say quietly. Criminal law. He's spent his entire career putting men like you in prison. Dominic's laugh is low, unexpected. And yet you came here anyway, to work for me, to align yourself with exactly what he's been fighting against. I didn't choose this, I snap, anger rising through the fear. You chose me, you're the one who decided. No. He stands. And suddenly he's directly in front of me, close enough that I have to tilt my head to meet his eyes. You chose this the moment you walked toward me in that diner instead of running. You chose it when you agreed to come here. You choose it every second you stay in this room instead of walking out. My heart is hammering so hard I think he can probably see my pulse through my skin. I don't understand why any of this is happening, I whisper. He's quiet for a moment. And then he does something unexpected. He walks to the fireplace and stares into the flames, his back to me. When he speaks, his voice is different, less commanding, more fractured. I lost someone 6 months ago, he says quietly. My sister. She was intelligent, ambitious, kind in the way that people in my world rarely are. She wanted to study law. She wanted to believe the system could change, could be fair. He pauses, and I hear something break in his voice. She was 18. I don't move. Don't speak. This is a confession, and I sense that he hasn't offered this to many people. Someone from a rival family took her. They wanted leverage against me. They wanted to prove that no one under my protection was safe. His shoulders are tense, rigid. By the time we found her, it was too late. She was gone. And I realized that my entire world, everything I've built, every choice I've made couldn't protect the person I loved most. He turns back to face me, and his eyes are hollow in a way that makes my breath catch. This man is ruthless, yes. But he's also broken. Absolutely, irreparably broken. What does that have to do with me? I ask. Because, he says, moving back to stand in front of my chair, I need someone in my life who isn't part of this world. Someone who can remind me that there's something beyond violence and power plays. Someone who will challenge me, who won't be intimidated by the Russo name, who will look at me and see a man, not just a boss. He reaches out and touches my cheek with surprising gentleness, his fingers tracing the line of my jaw. I saw that in you immediately, he continues. When you spilled soup on me and then looked at me with fear but no submission. You were terrified. But you didn't break. And I knew that you were exactly what I needed. That's not fair, I say, my voice shaking. You can't decide that about someone based on a single moment. I can, he says, and there's that certainty again, that absolute conviction that his will is law. And I have. The question isn't whether you'll work for me. The question is what role you'll play. He pulls his hand away, and the loss of contact feels like a betrayal. I need someone to manage my personal schedule. Handle communications that require discretion. Be present in my life in a way that makes it harder for enemies to predict my movements. His tone is shifting back to business, but there's a rawness underneath it. You'll be paid extremely well. You'll have access to this house, to me, to resources most people dream about. You'll also have danger, constant surveillance, and the knowledge that proximity to me makes you a target. Why would anyone accept those terms? Because, he says, looking at me with those ancient, cold eyes that somehow contain infinite warmth, deep down, you want the danger. You want to feel alive instead of slowly dying behind a diner counter. You want to matter to someone powerful. You want to be chosen. And he's right. God help me, he's absolutely right. If I do this, I say slowly, I need to know one thing. You said you lost your sister to your enemies. What guarantee do I have that I won't end up the same way? For the first time, I see something like vulnerability in his expression. Raw, unguarded honesty. You don't, he admits. But I'm giving you my word that I will protect you with every resource I have. That I will kill anyone who tries to harm you. That your safety will become as important to me as my own. It's not a guarantee. It's a promise written in blood, and somehow that's worse than any contract. I'll do it, I hear myself say. And as he smiles a real smile, not the controlled expression he wore in the diner, I realize I've just sealed my fate. The mansion doesn't feel like a tomb anymore. It feels like a cage. But I'm no longer sure if he's the predator or if I am. Chapter 4. The Hunters. 3 weeks. That's how long I've been living in the Russo mansion before I understand what it means to be hunted. The first week, I thought it was normal. A guest room with a 4-poster bed and windows that overlook the gardens. Meals prepared by a silent chef whose name I never learned. A study adjacent to Dominic's office where I sit at a desk managing his calendar, filtering calls, coordinating meetings with men whose last names I don't know and whose businesses I don't ask about. Dominic is different when we're around others. Colder. Completely professional. He treats me like an employee, which I suppose I am, though the distance between us in public only heightens the electricity when we're alone. Late evenings in his office. His hand finding the small of my back as he passes. The way he watches me with those ancient eyes while pretending to work. The second week. I noticed the men. Guards, I realized, always present but never obvious. One near the gates. One in the kitchen garden, one who follows in a black SUV whenever Dominic takes me into the city. I asked him about it directly, and he didn't deny it. You're valuable, he said simply, like that explained everything. Valuable things require protection. But the way he said it like I wasn't just an asset but something precious made my skin feel electric. The third week, the threats began. It started small. An envelope slipped under the main gate. Addressed to Dominic in handwriting that looked deliberately childish, deliberately mocking. I found it because I was collecting mail, and I knew from his reaction the way his jaw tightened, the way he burned it in the fireplace without reading it aloud that it was dangerous. Then came the car that followed too closely through the city, the phone call with no voice on the other end, just breathing. The way certain guards started carrying weapons more openly, less concerned with discretion. What's happening? I asked him. cornering him in his study one night after he'd been in a meeting with 3 men who looked like they'd just come from a crime scene. Business, he said, but he was lying. I could see it in the tension around his eyes. The way he wouldn't quite meet my gaze. Dominic. I walked closer, refusing to let him retreat behind his carefully constructed walls. I agreed to this. I deserved to know what I'm walking into. He was quiet for a long moment, and then he pulled out his phone, scrolled through something, and turned it to face me. A photograph. A man with scarred features and eyes that looked like Dominic's but twisted darker, angrier. My cousin, Dominic said quietly. Vittorio Russo. He's been trying to take control of the family for 3 years. When my father died, I inherited leadership. Vittorio believed it should have been him. And now? Now he's found a way to leverage power. Dominic set the phone down. He's allied with the Castellano family, our rival family. They're looking for leverage against me, and Vittorio is providing information, movement patterns, business contacts, weaknesses. My stomach dropped. Weaknesses meaning, me? No. His voice was absolute. You are not a weakness. You are something he wants to exploit, which is different. He thinks that targeting you will force me to make mistakes, to become reactive instead of strategic. So he'll what? Kidnap me? Kill me? He'll try. Dominic moved closer, and his hands found my shoulders. Which is why you're being protected. Which is why you don't leave this house without multiple guards. Which is why I need you to understand something. He tilted my chin up, forcing me to meet his eyes. I can't afford to let you become a distraction, he continued, and each word felt like a blade. I can't afford to care about you the way I'm starting to care about you, because the moment I do, I become a liability to my entire organization. The moment they see that you matter to me, they'll come harder. Then why did you bring me here? My voice shook. Why did you choose me if you knew? Because I'm selfish, he said, and there was raw honesty in his voice that made my breath catch. Because when I saw you in that diner, terrified and alive in a way I haven't felt in years, I wanted to keep you, and I'm going to, despite the consequences, despite the danger, despite the fact that my enemies will use you to destroy me if they can. He kissed me then finally, and it wasn't gentle or exploratory. It was claiming, possessive. A statement of intent written in pressure and warmth and the desperation of a man who had just admitted he was willing to burn his entire world for the girl who spilled soup on his shoes. When he pulled away, both of us were breathing hard. There's a threat assessment meeting tomorrow morning, he said, his forehead still touching mine. With the security team, I need you there. I need them to see that you're not a weakness, that you're part of my strategy now. Strategy? I pulled back. I don't know anything about. You don't have to, he said. You just have to sit beside me and be yourself. Intelligent. Unflinching. Mine. That word mine sent a shiver down my spine that was equal parts fear and desire. The meeting the next morning was held in a room I'd never seen before underground, beneath the main house. The temperature was cold, the air stale. Security monitors covered one entire wall, displaying feeds from every corner of the property. 4 men sat around a steel table, including Marco, who I'd learned was Dominic's second in command. I sat next to Dominic, and I felt the weight of their assessment like physical pressure. Castellano's been making moves, one of the men reported. 3 shipments intercepted last week. They're testing our response time. Vittorio, another said grimly. He's been communicating with them via encrypted channels. We've been monitoring. Corinne. Dominic's voice cut through the discussion, and every eye turned to me. What would you do if you were orchestrating this threat? I blinked, completely unprepared. I think, he encouraged, and there was something almost tender in his tone. You're intelligent, you understand patterns. If you were trying to destabilize me, what would you do? I swallowed hard and forced myself to focus. I would create multiple simultaneous threats. The intercepted shipments are obvious, you expect business disruption. But that's a distraction. The real threat would be personal. Something that forces you to divide your attention between protecting business interests and protecting something you care about. The silence in the room was absolute. She's right, Marco said slowly. The shipment interceptions are too public. If Castellano wanted to seriously damage us, they'd go for the supply chain itself. But if their goal is to compromise Dominic's judgment, they strike at her. Dominic finished, and his hand found mine beneath the table. His grip was fierce, protective, possessive. Then we need to move her, one of the men said. Safe house. Different location daily. Make her impossible to target. No. Dominic's voice was quiet, but it carried absolute authority. We do the opposite. We make her visible. We let them see that she matters to me. We use that against them. That's suicide, Marco said flatly. No, I heard myself say, my voice steady despite my racing heart. That's bait. Dominic looked at me, and his smile was dark and dangerous and almost loving. That's exactly what it is, he agreed. And she'll be the bait. As the meeting continued, I realized something with certain clarity. I wasn't just working for him anymore. I was walking directly into the line of fire. And we both knew it. Chapter 5, Closer. After the security meeting, everything changes. Dominic moves me from the guest room to his private quarters, not because of romance. He explains with that calculated coldness he uses with other people, but because it's easier to protect me if I'm under constant surveillance. Armed guards in the hallway. Security cameras in every room except the bedroom and bathroom. A panic button within arm's reach of every surface. It's a cage dressed up as intimacy. And I'm not sure which of us is more aware of the performance. The first night, he sleeps in his study. The second night, he tries the sofa in his room and lasts approximately 4 hours before abandoning the pretense. By the third night, he's in bed beside me, and we both acknowledge that there's nothing platonic about this arrangement. I can't sleep if I'm not near you, he admits, his voice rough with exhaustion and something darker. The moment you're out of my sight, I imagine every way they could get to you. Every vulnerability. Every failure point in our security. I turn to face him in the darkness. The moon filters through the windows, casting everything in silver and shadow. That's not healthy, I say quietly. You can't protect me by not sleeping. I know. His hand finds my hair, fingers threading through gently. I also know that you're terrified. That every sound in this house makes your heart race. That you're regretting coming here. It's not a question. But I answer anyway because we've moved beyond lies somehow. I regret a lot of things, I say. But you're not one of them. He kisses me slowly. Deliberately. Like he has all the time in the world. Like there aren't enemies circling the perimeter of this mansion. Like his cousin isn't actively plotting his destruction. His mouth is soft, and his hands are careful, and when he pulls me against him, it feels less like possession and more like drowning. I'll ruin you, he whispers against my skin. If you stay with me and you will stay with me because I won't let you leave, I will absolutely ruin you for any other life. I know, I breathe. And I kiss him back with the desperation of someone who understands they're standing on the edge of a cliff and choosing to jump anyway. We don't have sex that night. Instead, we lie in the darkness, and he tells me about his sister. About the last conversation they had about her dreams of becoming a civil rights attorney, about the way she laughed at his jokes, about the specific day she was taken and the 17 days they looked for her before finding her body. She was pure in a way I could never be, he says, his voice hollow. She believed in systems, in justice, in things that don't exist in my world. Maybe they could exist, I say carefully, if people like you chose differently. He laughs, but there's no humor in it. People like me don't choose differently. We're born into this, and we become this, and we die this. There's no redemption arc, Corinne. There's just blood and legacy and the slow erasure of your soul. Then why bring me in? I ask. If that's all there is. Because, he says, pulling me closer, you're the only part of me that still feels alive. The fourth night, he's called away for a meeting with the Castellano family. A negotiation, he tells me, though the way he checks his weapons before leaving suggests it's something far more dangerous. I spend the evening in his office, ostensibly managing schedules, actually staring at security feeds on the wall, monitors and trying not to imagine every way this could end. Marco finds me at midnight. Can't sleep? He asks, not unkindly. He's different when Dominic isn't around, less threatening, more human. Worried, I admit. About Dominic? Marco settles into a chair, and I realize he's waiting for his boss to return too. That's his job. He's very good at not dying. Is he? I look at the monitors, because from what I've seen, a lot of people die around him. Yes, Marco agrees simply, but not him. Not yet. Not when he has something to lose. He means me. I don't know how to do this. I confess, the words spilling out before I can stop them. I don't know how to love someone who's fundamentally dangerous. Someone whose job is to hurt people. Someone who has enemies that would kill me without hesitation. Marco is quiet for a long moment. You love him? I didn't intend to say it aloud, but now that it's out there, I can't take it back. Yes. Then you already know how to do this, Marco says. Because loving him despite those things is the entire equation. It's not conditional. It's not practical. It's just accepting that the person you love is capable of darkness and choosing to stay anyway. Dominic returns at 3 a.m., and I'm still awake in his office. Marco has long since left. I'm alone with the security feeds and my racing thoughts when Dominic walks in and I see blood on his sleeve. Not his blood. I can tell by the way he moves confident, unharmed. Who? I ask. Standing immediately. A Castellano lieutenant who made the mistake of suggesting they could use you as leverage, he says coldly, and he shrugs off his jacket, revealing the blood has soaked through the shirt beneath. He won't be making that suggestion again. He's moving toward the bathroom, and I follow, unable to stop myself. In the harsh light, I see the violence mapped across his body, scars layered over scars, evidence of a lifetime of warfare. I grab his shirt and pull it away from him, and he lets me, watching me with those ancient eyes. You could have let them kill him. I say, finding a washcloth and dampening it with water. You could have called it justified business. I could have, he agrees as I clean the blood from his skin. But I didn't want another body between us. I wanted him to understand that threatening you means death, and I wanted to deliver that message personally. I press the cloth to a cut on his shoulder, and he winces slightly. For a moment, he looks vulnerable, tired. Like the weight of his empire is actually crushing him, and he's just strong enough to keep moving. I love you, I say, the words escaping before I can think them through. I'm in love with you, and I hate that I am, and I'm terrified of what that means, but it's true. He's very still. Then his hands come up and cup my face, and he kisses me with desperate intensity. I know, he whispers against my mouth. I've known since the moment you looked at me in that diner like you wanted to run but chose to stay. I just needed to hear you say it. This is a mistake, I murmur, but I'm kissing him back, pulling him toward the bedroom. We're making the biggest mistake. Maybe, he agrees, following me, and his hands are everywhere, my hair, my back, my waist, pulling me closer. But I'm done pretending it's anything less than this. We make love that night with the desperation of people who understand that tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Every touch feels like a confession. Every moment of vulnerability feels like a battlefield where we're both surrendering to something neither of us can control. When he's inside me, whispering apologies for the danger he's bringing into my life, the only answer I have is to hold him tighter. Don't let me go, he says, and it sounds like a plea. Never, I promise, and I mean it with every fiber of my being. But as we lie tangled together in the darkness, I realize something with sick certainty. He's already let go. Of propriety. Of distance. Of the careful walls he built to keep his organization safe from emotional liability. I am no longer bait. I am his weakness made flesh. And his enemies know exactly how to exploit that now. Chapter 6, The Truth. The phone call comes at 6 a.m. I'm half asleep when Dominic's entire body goes rigid beside me. His hand, which had been resting on my waist, suddenly tightens to the point of pain. I watch as he listens to whoever is on the other end. And I see the exact moment his face becomes a mask. Where? He says quietly. Then, secure the site. No one touches anything until I get there. He ends the call and gets out of bed without looking at me. What happened? I ask, sitting up, reaching for him. Nothing that concerns you, he says, and his voice is different. The dangerous version. The Dominic that runs an empire, not the man who whispered apologies into my skin hours ago. Don't do that, I say, anger rising through the fear. Don't pretend we didn't just spend the night. Get dressed. He cuts me off, already pulling on clothes with mechanical precision. And stay in this room. Don't answer the door for anyone except Marco. Don't leave. Don't ask questions. Dominic? Corinne. He says my name like a command, and something in his tone freezes the protest in my throat. This is not negotiable. He leaves, and I'm alone in the room with the impression of his body still warm in the sheets and the sickening certainty that something has fundamentally shifted. I don't listen. I know I shouldn't. I know that defying him is dangerous. But waiting in that room while my mind spirals through possibilities is worse. So I dress and slip out of the bedroom, avoiding the guards by using the service corridors I've memorized over the past 3 weeks. The sounds lead me to the West Wing raised voices, urgency, the controlled chaos of crisis management. I follow the noise to a room I've never been in before, one with its door slightly ajar. What I see makes my blood freeze. Photographs scattered across a table. Crime scene photographs. And in the center of them, a body. Female. Young. Her face destroyed beyond recognition. But something about the gold bracelet on her wrist makes my stomach drop. Marco is standing over the images, his face grim. 2 other men I don't recognize stand nearby, speaking rapidly in Italian. And then Dominic enters, and the room immediately falls silent. Identified? He asks, his voice devoid of emotion. Not officially, one of the men says. But the bracelet matches the description. And the location they left her exactly where they took your sister. It's a message. The world tilts. Whose body? I hear myself ask, and 3 sets of eyes turn toward me in shock. Dominic's face goes dark, actually dark, like storm clouds gathering before a catastrophe. How did you get out? He says to the other men. Now. They obey immediately, and then it's just us, and the photographs of a dead girl, and the terrible understanding dawning across his features. Whose body? I repeat, because I need to understand. I need to know what I'm looking at. Vittorio's daughter, he says quietly. My cousin's daughter. She was 16 years old. The room spins. And you. I can barely form the words. You what? You killed her to send a message to Vittorio? No. He moves toward me, and I step backward instinctively. I didn't kill her. The Castellanos did. They took her from outside her school 3 days ago. They've been holding her as leverage. But Vittorio, he's your cousin. Shouldn't he have told you? Shouldn't you have? That's exactly what I'm trying to figure out. Dominic says, and there's a fury building in his voice that makes the hair on my neck stand up. He didn't tell me. He negotiated with them privately. And when they realized he wasn't paying the ransom, they demanded. They killed her and left her on the exact spot where my sister was found. I can't even process it. That's evil. That's war, he finishes coldly. That's what happens in my world, Corinne. That's the cost of doing business. Something about the way he says it so resigned, so accepting makes me feel sick. Why are you telling me this? I ask. Why show me those pictures? He's quiet for a long moment. Then he walks to the table and picks up one of the photographs. But it's not the body he's showing me, it's another image. A grainy photograph taken from what appears to be security footage. My father, standing in the parking lot of the FBI field office, speaking intently to a man I recognize from news coverage. Federal Agent Harrison, the prosecutor overseeing organized crime investigations. Where is this from? My voice sounds very small. Surveillance footage, Dominic says quietly, from 3 weeks ago. The day before you spilled soup on me. The world stops rotating. Your father, he continues, and each word lands like a hammer blow, has been feeding information to the FBI about my operations. He's been providing them with detailed accounts of my business structure, my supply chains, my associates. He's been building a case against me for 6 months. No. I shake my head. My father would never. Your father is a federal prosecutor with a vendetta against the Russo family, Dominic says, his voice eerily calm. And 3 weeks ago, he made contact with the FBI to accelerate the investigation. The timeline lines up perfectly. You're suggesting that I can barely speak. That I knew about this. I'm not suggesting anything. He sets the photograph down. I'm telling you what I found when I had my people investigate you after the diner. Your father's communications. His meetings. His motivations. If you knew this, I say slowly, why would you bring me here? Why would you? Because despite knowing who your father is and what he's doing, I couldn't stay away from you. There's raw pain in his voice now, bleeding through the control. Because the moment I saw you, something in my chest rewired itself around you, and I couldn't make it stop even knowing the danger. So I'm what, a plant? Insurance? My voice rises. Did you bring me here to use my father against him, to turn me into leverage? No. He steps closer. I brought you here because I'm selfish and broken, and you made me feel less hollow. And then I fell in love with you, and I had to choose between protecting my empire and protecting you. And I chose you. By keeping this from me, I'm shaking now. By lying to me every single day? Yes, he admits, because the moment you knew the truth, you would have to choose between your family and me. And I wasn't ready to lose you. I feel tears on my cheeks, though I don't remember starting to cry. My father is building a case against you because he's a good man trying to do his job, I say bitterly. And you're sitting here justifying murder and revenge like it's the natural order of the world. It is, Dominic says, and there's no apology in his voice. In my world, it absolutely is. Then I can't stay in your world, I whisper. The moment the words leave my mouth, I see something break in his expression, genuine, absolutely vulnerable pain. Yes, you can, he says, and his voice drops to something almost pleading. You can stay because you love me, and I love you. And that's stronger than everything else. Love isn't enough when one person is a criminal and the other's father is trying to put him in prison, I say, and every word tastes like poison. Love isn't enough when that same criminal is orchestrating revenge against the people he loves. Corinne, I need to leave. I move toward the door. He doesn't try to stop me physically, but his voice does. If you walk out of this room, he says very quietly, my enemies will know. They'll see it as weakness. And they will use you against me, just like they used my sister. Just like they used Vittorio's daughter. I stop at the threshold, my hand on the door frame. Are you threatening me? I ask. No, he says. I'm telling you the truth. And the truth is that leaving me doesn't make you safe. It makes you a target. I turn back to face him, and in his eyes, I see the monster and the man I love, perfectly superimposed. Then I guess I'm trapped, I say quietly. Yes, he agrees, and there's no satisfaction in his voice. You are. We both are. Chapter 7, The Reckoning. The Castellano family retaliates that night. The mansion is under siege. Not in a cinematic, guns blazing way that would be too obvious, too visible. Instead, it's a coordinated psychological assault. The power grid fails at 11 p.m. The perimeter security goes dark at 11:47 p.m. And at midnight exactly, the first shots come through the east wing windows. I'm in Dominic's office when it happens, still angry, still reeling from the revelation, when Marco bursts through the door. We're under attack. Castellanos made their move, he says, completely calm in a way that terrifies me more than panic ever could. We need to get you to the safe room. Where's Dominic? I ask, already moving. Where he always is in a situation like this, Marco says grimly. In the field. The safe room is underground reinforced steel, ventilation system, enough supplies for weeks. Marco escorts me there with 2 armed guards, and I watch through monitors as the mansion becomes a war zone. I watch armed men move through the halls, taking positions. I watch Dominic's people respond with controlled precision, every movement economical and deadly. And then I see Dominic himself on the monitor. He moves through the chaos like a phantom, and I realize I've never actually seen him fight. I've known intellectually that he's dangerous, but seeing it, watching him move with the efficiency of a predator, watching him neutralize threats with devastating speed is completely different from understanding it theoretically. There's a man coming at him from the right. Dominic doesn't run or block or negotiate. He simply moves into the space, and there's a moment of contact that lasts less than a second, and the man is falling. Dead or nearly dead, I can't tell from the distance, but he doesn't get up. Dominic's in the east corridor. One of the guards monitoring the feeds says quietly. They've got him pinned. How many? Marco leans closer to the screen. 8, maybe 9. More coming from the north entrance. I watch on the monitor as Dominic backs into a corner, his weapon raised, and I realize with sick certainty that this could end with him dead. That despite all his power and ruthlessness, he's still mortal. Still capable of dying. Get her into the interior room. Marco orders suddenly, gesturing to me. No windows. No light. Why? I'm already standing, my heart pounding so hard I think it might burst. Because if they breach this safe room, you need somewhere to hide, he says, and then he's moving toward the exit. I'm going up. Marco, wait. But he's gone, and one of the guards is ushering me deeper into the structure, into a room that's smaller than a closet and darker than the grave. They leave me with a radio that crackles with combat updates I don't want to hear. 2 down, east corridor. Perimeter compromised. Southwest section. Dominic's pinned. They're moving to flank position. The radio cuts out, and I'm alone in absolute darkness. I have no idea how much time passes. Could be minutes, could be hours. The darkness plays tricks on perception. I sit on the floor and listen to the muffled sounds of violence, gunshots, shouting, the crash of something heavy falling. I press my hands over my ears and try not to imagine Dominic bleeding out in one of those corridors. When the door finally opens, I nearly scream. It's Dominic. He's covered in blood his most knot and his left arm hangs at an odd angle. His suit is shredded, his face is cut, and there's a wildness in his eyes that I've never seen before. He looks like he's walked out of hell itself. Come, he says. And his voice is rough and urgent. Your arm. We need to move. Now. He grabs my hand with his right, and we're moving through the corridors, through the mansion that's suddenly become a death trap. I see bodies as we pass Castellano, men, Russo men, I can't tell anymore. The walls are marked with blood. Pictures are askew. Everything is chaos. The east wing is an inferno. Flames climb the walls, and smoke fills the corridors. Dominic covers my mouth with his hand, and navigates through it like he's memorized every inch of this space. We emerge into the garden, and I realize the siege has mostly moved to other parts of the property. The east wing was a diversion. The main gates, he says, pulling me toward the driveway. That's where they're concentrating forces. We go out the south fence. Dominic, you need medical attention. I need to survive, he corrects, and his grip on my hand is almost painful. Everything else comes second. We reach the fence, and he pulls a key card from his pocket. I have no idea how it survived the chaos, and a section of the fence slides open silently. A car is waiting. Of course there's a contingency. Of course he's planned for this exact scenario. He shoves me into the passenger seat and drives without lights, navigating by memory through the dark property. Behind us, the mansion burns like a funeral pyre. We drive in silence for 20 minutes before he finally speaks. The Castellanos wanted to show me that nowhere is safe. He says, his voice flat and controlled despite the obvious pain. That I can't protect anything. Not my family. Not my empire. Not you. Dominic? They're right. He turns onto a main road, and he finally turns the headlights on. In the harsh light, I can see the full extent of his injuries. The blood soaking through his shirt. The way his left shoulder is definitely dislocated. The cuts across his face that are going to scar. I can't protect you. I've been lying to myself pretending I could, but I can't. Stop the car, I say. We need to put distance between. Stop. The car. He does, pulling into an empty parking lot of a closed diner. And in the darkness, with the weight of the night's violence hanging between us, I finally see him completely unmasked. He's not invincible. He's not a god of the underworld. He's a man who's been broken by violence since childhood, who's built an empire out of the pieces of his trauma, and who's now facing the reality that he can't control anything except the violence he commits. Take me to my father, I say quietly. No. Dominic, if he knows I'm alive, if he knows you protected me, your father would arrest me, he says, and there's no bitterness in his voice, just fact. And then my enemies would destroy me in prison, and you would be alone. Then take me somewhere neutral, I say. A hospital. The police. Somewhere that isn't your mansion or your car or the inside of your empire. He's quiet for a long moment, and then he takes my hand. His palm is slick with blood. If I let you go, he says very quietly, you disappear from my life completely. We don't see each other. We don't communicate. We exist in separate worlds. I know, I whisper. And you still want that? I should. I absolutely should. Walking away from him is the intelligent choice, the moral choice. The choice that would let me reclaim some version of my life that doesn't involve crime families and dead teenage girls and mansions burning in the night. But looking at him broken and bleeding and absolutely raw in his vulnerability, I realize something that destroys everything I've been trying to convince myself of. I don't want to leave. I want to stay. Even knowing everything. Even knowing the cost. No, I say, and my voice cracks. Take me back. For a moment, he doesn't move. Then he pulls me across the console and holds me against him, careful of his injured shoulder, and whispers into my hair. You're going to be the death of me. I know, I say. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry, he whispers. Just be mine. Completely, irrevocably. From this moment forward. And I realize as he drives us back into the darkness, back toward the burning mansion, and the carnage and the war that's far from over. I'm no longer choosing between my old life and his world. I'm choosing to burn with him. Chapter 8. The Unraveling. We don't return to the mansion. Instead, Dominic drives us to a house I've never seen, a safe house, he explains with clinical precision. Located in a quiet suburb 2 hours north of the city. It's small and anonymous, the kind of place nobody would think to look. The kind of place where people disappear. The kind of place where I'm disappearing right now. His arm is definitely broken. I wrap it carefully, my hands shaking. After we arrive, he lets me work in silence, his expression distant. He's checked out emotionally. I can see it in the way he stares through me instead of at me. The weight of what happened, the magnitude of his loss, is slowly crushing him, and he's retreating into the only place he knows how to go. Cold. Calculated control. How many died? I ask quietly. 17 Russo family members. 12 Castellano operatives. 2 civilians caught in the crossfire. He recites the numbers like inventory. Vittorio is dead. Marco is dead. The mansion is a total loss. And your arm is the least significant injury I sustained today, he says flatly. I understand what he's not saying. The Empire is wounded. Maybe fatally. The mansion burning means headquarters is compromised. The deaths mean chain of command is fractured. The Castellanos have delivered a message. Dominic Russo is vulnerable. And the vultures are gathering. That night, I can't sleep. I lie beside him in the darkness of this strange house, listening to him breathe, and I feel something shifting in my chest. Not love that hasn't diminished. But something else. Something darker. Fear, actual, paralyzing terror. Because lying in the dark, I think about Vittorio's daughter, about the 2 civilians who died in the crossfire, about all the bodies that have fallen in the wake of loving this man. And I wonder for the first time, truly wonder if I've made a catastrophic mistake. The next morning, I wake to find him gone. There's a note on the kitchen counter in handwriting I recognize. Had to handle business. Stay inside. Guards are positioned outside. Don't leave. Don't leave. As if I haven't been having that exact same thought on loop for the past 8 hours. I spend the day pacing the small house like an animal in a cage. The windows are covered with blackout curtains. The doors are locked from the outside. I'm safe, he'd said, but safe feels a lot like captive. The distinction between protection and imprisonment is getting harder to maintain. By evening, I'm falling apart. I find a laptop on a desk in what appears to be an office, and I log into my email, something I haven't done since coming to the mansion. There are dozens of messages from my father. Where are you? Please contact me. I'm filing a missing persons report. The last email is from 3 days ago, and his words are desperate. Corinne, if you're in danger, let me know. I can help you. I can protect you. The cruelty of it breaks something inside me. He can't protect me. Nobody can. I'm in love with a man who's at war with the entire underworld, and there's no protection strong enough to keep me safe. There's only the illusion of safety, which is worse than knowing the truth. I'm still staring at the emails when Dominic returns. He's colder now. More distant. There's a deadness behind his eyes that wasn't there before, like the siege destroyed something essential in him. He looks at me, and for a moment, I see myself through his eyes. A liability, a distraction, a reason he's losing his war. We need to talk, I say. Not tonight, he responds, moving past me toward the bedroom. I'm tired. I found my emails. My father has been trying to reach me. Your father is the reason half my organization is dead, he says quietly, and his voice carries lethal promise. Don't make me regret letting you live knowing that. The words hit like a physical blow. You blame him for the siege? I ask, stepping in front of him. That's insane. Vittorio is the one who. Vittorio is dead because your father's investigation forced him to make deals with the Castellanos. The Castellanos took his daughter because they were looking for leverage. And they attacked my mansion because they knew I was distracted by you. He looks at me finally, and his eyes are ice. So yes, I blame your father. And I blame you. I didn't choose this, I say, my voice shaking. I didn't ask to fall in love with you. I didn't ask to be brought into this world. No, you asked to stay in it, he says coldly. You had a choice in that parking lot, and you chose to come back. You chose me over your freedom, over your family, over your sanity. So don't stand here and pretend you're a victim in this scenario. I'm not. I can't even finish the sentence because he's right. He's absolutely right, and that's what terrifies me most. I did choose this. I did come back. And now I'm trapped in a small house with a man who's looking at me like I'm the reason his world is burning. I need you to understand something, he continues, moving closer. What happened yesterday was just the beginning. The Castellanos won't stop. Vittorio's death means a power vacuum. My suppliers will be looking for new connections. My street operations are exposed. And throughout all of this, I have to worry about keeping you alive. Then don't, I whisper. Don't worry about me, let me go. He steps back like I've slapped him. You don't mean that, he says quietly. Maybe I do. And God help me, maybe I'm starting to. Dominic, I can't do this. I can't be the reason you lose focus. I can't watch you become colder and more distant every day. I can't be trapped in houses and safe rooms while people die because of their connection to you. So leave, he says, and there's something broken in his voice now. The ice cracking to reveal raw pain underneath. Walk out that door right now. Go to your father. Go to the FBI. Testify against me if that's what it takes to save your conscience. And you'll just let me? No, he says, and his laugh is hollow. You'll leave, and my enemies will find you within 48 hours. And they'll use you to destroy me, and then they'll kill you. So please, Corinne, if you're going to leave, understand what you're actually choosing. I'm crying now, actually crying, and I hate myself for it. I don't know how to do this, I say, my voice breaking. I don't know how to love someone in your world. I don't know how to watch people die. I don't know how to accept that my father is your enemy. I don't know, I just don't know. He moves toward me, and his arms come around me, and I collapse against him even though I'm angry at him, even though I'm terrified, even though part of me wants to run and never look back. I know, he whispers into my hair. I know it's too much. I know I'm asking you to become someone you never wanted to be. But I can't let you go. I'm not strong enough for that. And I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. We stand like that in the darkness of the safe house. Two people drowning in a love that's too heavy to bear and too essential to survive without. And I realize something with absolute, bone-deep certainty. We're destroying each other. Not intentionally, not maliciously, but inevitably, like gravity pulling objects toward collision. And neither of us is strong enough to resist. Chapter 9. The breaking point. 3 days pass in the safe house. 3 days of silence punctuated by Dominic making calls, coordinating with whoever still answers to him, rebuilding the fractured pieces of his empire from a suburban kitchen table. 3 days of me watching him become incrementally more hollow, more distant, more consumed by the machinery of survival. 3 days of both of us pretending we're not dying. The attack comes at 2 a.m., I jolt awake to the sound of breaking glass, and Dominic is already moving muscle memory from a lifetime of violence. He pulls me out of bed and toward the closet, but there's no time, because the bedroom door explodes inward. 3 men, armed, professional. They move with the synchronization of people who've trained together for years, and I realize with sickening certainty that these aren't Castellano family, there's something worse. They're federal agents. The FBI. My father sent them. Corinne Santiago, you're coming with us, the lead agent says, his weapon trained on Dominic. Step away from him, step toward the door. Slowly. Dominic's hands are raised, but his eyes are on me, and there's something like resignation in his expression. Like he always knew this moment would come. She's not going anywhere, he says quietly. That wasn't a request, the agent responds. You're under arrest for. I said she's not going anywhere, Dominic repeats, and something shifts in the room. The energy changes. The danger amplifies. Dominic, don't. I plead, understanding what he's about to do. Please don't. But he's already moving, not toward the agents, toward me. He pulls me behind him and reaches for the gun he keeps beneath the mattress, and suddenly the entire room explodes into violence. The first shot is impossibly loud. The second follows immediately. Dominic fires twice, dropping the lead agent, and then the other 2 are returning fire with brutal precision. I'm screaming, falling to the ground, watching as Dominic takes a bullet in the shoulder and keeps moving anyway. He's protecting me with his body, using furniture as cover, and he's bleeding, so much bleeding, but he won't stop. He can't stop because stopping means they take me, and that's the one thing his fractured psyche can't accept. Run, he gasps at me, kitchen, back door, run. I'm not leaving you. Go. He roars, and then he's charging toward the agents, a man with a broken arm and a fresh bullet wound. And the sheer insanity of it causes a moment of hesitation that costs one of them his life. I run. I don't want to. Every cell in my body wants to stay and fight beside him and face whatever consequences come. But I run because he ordered it, because he's buying me time with his blood, because some part of me understands that dying together doesn't save either of us. The kitchen is chaos. Bullets punch through cabinets. Glass shatters. I reach the back door and it's locked, and my hands are shaking so badly I can barely work the deadbolt. Behind me, I hear more gunfire. I hear him scream my name. I get the door open and run into the dark suburban night, wearing nothing but a nightgown and bare feet, and I run toward the only place I can think of that might offer sanctuary. My father's house is dark when I arrive on his doorstep, bleeding and broken and soaked in Dominic's blood. He answers the door in pajamas, and the moment he sees me, his entire face crumples. He pulls me inside without questions, and I'm crying, absolutely falling apart as he wraps me in a blanket and holds me like I'm 5 years old again. He's dead, I say. The words scraping out of my throat like broken glass. Dominic is dead. The FBI agents came, and he protected me, and he's dead. My father doesn't respond. He just holds me tighter, and I realize with fresh horror that he knew. He sent those agents knowing exactly what would happen. Knowing that Dominic would fight. Knowing that it would end this way. We need to take you to the hospital, my father says quietly. Get you checked out. No. I pull away from him. No hospitals. No statements. No testimonies. I'm not helping you put his body on a slab in some federal facility. I'm not. Corinne. My father grips my shoulders. Look at me. Dominic Russo is a criminal, a dangerous man who was trying to protect me. I finish, my voice hollow. Was willing to die protecting me. And you knew that would happen, and you sent them anyway. To save you, my father says. To save you from a life of violence, and I don't want to be saved. I'm screaming now, pulling away from him, and I can see the shock on his face. I don't want to be saved from him. I wanted a choice, and you took that away. I move toward the door, but he blocks me. You can't go back out there, he says firmly. The federal agents are securing the property. The area is being cordoned off. Dominic is first early. Is what? I ask. And something in his expression changes. Something hesitant. Tell me. Is he dead? We don't know yet, my father says quietly. They were calling in medical units when I left to come here. But Corin, even if he survived, he'll be arrested. He'll face charges for I don't hear the rest. I'm already moving toward the door, and my father grabs my arm, and I wrench away from him with a ferocity that shocks both of us. I love him, I say. And the words feel like they're tearing apart my soul. I love him despite everything. Despite what he is. Despite what loving him means. And I won't let you take him from me without a fight. You're not thinking clearly, my father says, and there's genuine concern in his voice. You've been traumatized. You need help. The only help I need is to get back to him, I say. So I'm going to leave this house. And I'm going to find him, and if he's still alive, I'm going to be with him until I can't be anymore. I walk out into the pre-dawn darkness, and my father doesn't try to stop me. He just stands in the doorway of his house, watching his daughter disappear into the night toward a man who's probably already dead. The safe house is cordoned off with yellow tape. Federal vehicles line the street. Police cars with lights flashing. An ambulance. I approach from the woods, staying hidden in shadows, and I peer through windows until I see him. Dominic is alive. He's being loaded into an ambulance by paramedics, his body a map of violence and blood. His left arm is definitely shattered. There's a pressure bandage on his shoulder and another on his thigh. He's conscious, though barely, and as they're lifting him into the ambulance, his eyes scan the darkness like he's looking for something. Looking for me. I step out of the shadows, and our eyes meet across the distance. For a moment, we just look at each other, two people who walked into something neither of us could survive intact and loved each other anyway. And then he's being pulled away, loaded into the ambulance, driven toward federal custody and prison cells and a lifetime of punishment. And I realize with absolute, devastating clarity, this is where our story ends. Not with passion, or sacrifice, or some grand gesture of redemption. It ends with him being taken away while I watch from the darkness, unable to follow, unable to help, unable to do anything except love him from a distance that will only grow wider. I love you. I whisper into the pre-dawn darkness, knowing he can't hear me, but understanding that he already knows. Chapter 10. Forever. 6 months later. The prison visiting room smells like institutional bleach and desperation. I've been here every week for the past 24 weeks, sitting behind reinforced glass. Speaking through phones that record every word, knowing that federal agents monitor every conversation. They're waiting for me to incriminate myself. Waiting for me to pass contraband. Waiting for me to break the law so they can arrest me too. But I don't break. I never break. Dominic enters in orange prison scrubs, and despite everything, the chains around his ankles, the way he moves like a caged predator, the scar across his eye that's freshly healed from a prison fight, he's still beautiful. Still magnetic. Still, the man who changed the trajectory of my entire life by demanding that I work for him. We sit. The phone is picked up on both sides. You look tired, he says, and his voice through the phone line is distorted but still commanding. You look like you got in another fight, I counter. He smiles, genuine, real, the smile that makes everything else disappear. Had to remind someone that I'm not to be tested. Even in here, there's hierarchy. You're going to get yourself killed, I say, and I mean it. Probably, he agrees. But not yet. This is how our conversations go. Surface banter that masks the deeper currents of what's actually happening. He's asking me questions without asking them. I'm providing answers without speaking directly. Everything is performance for the recording devices. But underneath it all is the fundamental reality. He's in prison because of my father's investigation. I'm standing by him anyway. And neither of us knows how to exist in a world where the other isn't within arm's reach. Your father came to see me, I tell him quietly, before I came here today. Dominic's expression hardens. What did he want? To convince me to stop visiting you. He said I'm wasting my life waiting for someone who'll never get out. That I should move on. He's right, Dominic says, and the words are like a knife. You should move on. You should find someone who can give you a normal life. A safe life. I don't want normal, I say. I don't want safe. I want you. Corinne. The prosecutor offered me a deal, I continue, cutting him off. If I testify against you, If I provide evidence about your operations, they'll reduce your sentence significantly. You could be out in 8 years instead of 20. The color drains from his face. No, he says immediately. Absolutely not. You don't testify against me. You don't betray yourself to save me. That's not how this works. Why not? I ask. You were willing to die to protect me. Why am I not allowed to sacrifice for you? Because, he says, leaning forward as close as the glass allows, if you testify, you become a target. My family won't forgive you. The families I've made enemies with will view you as a traitor who helped put me away. You'll spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder. I won't let you do that. It's not your choice, I say quietly. It's mine. Then I'm asking you, as someone who loves you. Don't do this. The words hang between us, transmitted through prison phone lines, recorded by federal agencies. Absolutely precious because they're the first time he's admitted love outright since my father's agents raided the safe house. I'm not testifying, I tell him, and I watch as he releases a breath he didn't know he was holding. But not because you asked me not to. I'm not testifying because I realized something while visiting you every week. What's that? That I was given a choice the moment I spilled soup on your shoes, I say. And I've been making that choice over and over again every single week. I choose you, even knowing it's a life of visiting rooms and phone calls, and the knowledge that you'll probably never fully get out of this world. I choose you. He presses his palm against the glass, and I mirror the gesture on my side. Two people separated by reinforced barriers but connected by something that prison walls can't diminish. I'm going to get out, he says quietly. Not because I'm innocent, but because I'm going to rebuild from inside. I'm going to rehabilitate in a way that's real and documented. And when I get out, I'm going to be the man you deserve. You're already the man I deserve, I tell him. No. His voice is firm. The man you deserve doesn't lead a criminal empire, doesn't get innocent people killed, doesn't bring you into violence and danger. And I'm done being that man. There's something in his expression that's different from before, something that looks almost like redemption. My cousin is taking over operations. He continues. I'm stepping back, legitimately, legally, with documentation. I'm going to spend my time in here getting my GED. Taking courses in business management, setting myself up for a different life when I get out. That's not who you are, I say, and I'm not sure if I'm arguing or hoping. Maybe it's who I can become, he says, for you. 2 years later, I'm sitting in a small apartment, modest, paid for by my job as an office manager at a legitimate consulting firm when the letter arrives. It's from a lawyer, Dominic's lawyer. The paperwork is extensive, a formal statement of intent to pursue parole, documentation of his rehabilitative efforts, letters of support from prison counselors and educational supervisors. There's also a letter addressed to me. My love, by the time you read this, I'll have submitted my petition for parole. The timeline suggests I could be released within 18 months if the board is favorable. I'm writing this to ask you something that will determine the rest of my life. I'm asking you to wait for me, not because I deserve your loyalty, not because it's fair or practical or wise. I'm asking because I need to know that there's someone in the world who sees me as capable of being something more than the ruthless man I was. When I get out, I want to marry you. Not the way crime family men do with blood oaths and violence-soaked promises. I want to marry you in a courthouse, surrounded by witnesses, with every intention of spending the rest of my life being the man you've already chosen to love. I know I'm asking a lot. I know you could find someone better, but I'm asking anyway because you taught me that love isn't about what's logical. It's about choosing someone despite every reason not to. Wait for me, please. Dominic. I'm crying, actually sobbing, holding the letter against my chest, and I don't even realize my phone is ringing until it's too late. It's my father. I heard through official channels that Russo filed for parole, he says without preamble. I wanted to call you before you heard it through the news. Thank you, I say quietly. You're going to stay with him, he says. It's not a question. Yes. He's silent for a long moment. I've spent 2 years building a case against him, trying to ensure he serves every day of that sentence. And I realize something: he cares about you, more than he cares about his freedom. That's not nothing. No, I agree. It's everything. I can't approve of this, my father says, and there's exhaustion in his voice. But I can understand it. And that's as close to blessing as I can get right now. We end the call, and I return to the letter. 8 months later. The parole hearing is televised. Dominic sits before the board in prison scrubs, completely composed, and answers their questions with an eloquence that surprises me. He's thoughtful about his crimes, genuinely remorseful about the deaths, realistic about the challenges of reintegration. And when they ask him what he plans to do upon release, he looks directly into the camera, looking directly at me. I realize and says, I'm going to build a legitimate life. I'm going to spend my time making amends where I can. And I'm going to spend every remaining day loving the woman who never gave up on me, even when she had every reason to. The parole board approves his release. 3 weeks later, he walks out of federal prison, and I'm there waiting in the parking lot. He's wearing a suit that his lawyer provided, charcoal. Expensive, but chosen without violence for once. He sees me, and he stops walking. We just look at each other for what feels like an eternity. Then he's moving toward me, and I'm moving toward him, and when he pulls me into his arms, it feels like coming home. It feels like redemption. It feels like all the violence and danger and heartbreak was worth it, because it led to this moment. I love you, he whispers into my hair. I know, I say. I've always known. He pulls back just enough to look at me, and he produces a ring, simple, elegant, nothing like the ostentatious jewelry of his former world. Will you marry me? For real this time? Yes, I answer, and I'm crying and laughing simultaneously. Yes to everything. Yes to normal. Yes to boring. Yes to whatever comes next. He slides the ring onto my finger, and when he kisses me, it tastes like redemption and second chances and the bittersweet knowledge that we're both fundamentally changed by loving each other. The man I fell in love with was ruthless, dangerous, magnetic. The man I'm marrying is humbled, healing, human. And somewhere in that transformation is the proof that love can save us not from ourselves, but from our worst selves. As we drive away from the prison and toward the life we're building together, I think about the moment that started everything. A girl with a diner job. A man with an empire. Soup and designer shoes, and the first of 1,000 choices that led to forever. Some loves are safe. Some loves are practical. Some loves are easy. But ours? Ours is undeniable. And that's enough.